Identifying and treating cervical vertebrae. Very well. Now we're going to get to the heart of the video course. Now we have to identify the 7 cervical vertebrae that are contained in this fascia here. Now, how do we do this? First, we ask our client to bend their head forward, and we will notice that there is a protruding vertebrae, which sticks out more than the others. So we highlight it. Now, be careful because some texts say that the most protruding vertebrae is the 7th vertebrae, whereas others say that it's the first dorsal vertebrae. So in order to understand whether it's the 7th cervical or the first dorsal is the most protruding vertebrae, we will first try to feel the most protruding vertebrae. We place our finger on it, and then we ask our client to rotate their head to the right and then to the left. Now, because the first dorsal vertebrae is a fixed vertebrae, so during the movement, the rotation of the head, it does not accompany the movement, but it is actually still. If the point that I'm touching at this time is moving or moves slightly as if it were to accompany the neck, then it's going to be the 7th cervical. If, however, the most protruding vertebra is still, so it doesn't move, then we have the first dorsal. So, in the case of this model, if in this case, the red one is the first dorsal because during the movement of the head, it wasn't moving. So by feeling the most protruding point of the vertebra, so the back part, which if you remember is called the spinous process. Now, by getting the feel of it by touch, we can actually identify it. So I highlight them with the magic marker, and we will be able to identify the first 6 cervical. We will hardly be able to feel the first cervical vertebrae because it is actually inside the occipital bone. Okay, you see now this other view, a blow up. Now we have the first dorsal, which is highlighted in red. Then we have the 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, the 2nd, and the first cervical vertebrae. The first and second will be higher up. So now I'm going to show you a picture where I will also show you the 2nd cervical vertebrae highlighted. I didn't highlight the first one because I would have had to draw on the hair. And here it is. Okay, if you count them, we have the first dorsal, the 7th cervical, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and the first one is inside the above the hairline, so it was impossible for me to highlight it. So at this point, before we start treating the cervical vertebrae, we will need to do some kneading of the neck muscles. So it's very simple, considering that this is a video designed for a medium level students. I'm going to proceed fairly quickly in the kneading treatment. So you will work on the one side and then on the other. And this for soothing the neck muscles, which can sometimes be contracted. So it doesn't make sense to reestablish a balance or realign the cervical vertebrae if the neck muscles are contracted. Palpé rouleé of the cervical tissues. Now we're going to do the palpé rouleé of the cervical tissues or muscles. We will work first on one side, then on the other. So as I said before, because this is an advanced level, I will go fairly quickly through these steps that we learned when we did the metameric massage course. If we didn't follow that course or you haven't watched it in detail, all these steps are very clearly explained in there. So anyway, it's a simple palpé rouleé technique, and in the case of this model, it's also very simple. On other people who have a stiff neck, this may also be painful. So in that case, you just have to go slower. So it starts from the spine. I work from the spine to the sides. Now be careful to do the palpebral roulet all the way to the hairline. Now we're going to do some stretching. So we will start from the lowest section, so from the 7th cervical or the first dorsal. We place our hands, both hands, on the neck, and we stretch the paravertebral space, that is the muscles under the neck. Now if you looked at the anatomy section, there are various muscle sections here. We refer to it as the paravertebral or trapezium, but it's still very general because in fact there are several muscle fascias, and so with this technique you're actually going to work on all of them, at least as far as the neck is concerned. So you point your fingers, and at the sides of the spine you reach the hairline, and there you do these apertures. Now I'm going to show you another view so that everything will be clearer. You see, I start from the first dorsal or 7th cervical. It really doesn't make that much of a difference. I pull upwards, then I hook on to the occipital bone, and I move downwards or to the sides. So I repeat. I skip one vertebrae. I start, I hook on, and then I move to the sides. Each one of these steps can be done twice or 3 times. It doesn't hurt, or in fact it's good for this. I've done 3 times, as you can see. Then you will skip another vertebrae, so you will start from the 6th cervical vertebrae. You hook on, you pull, and then you pull to the sides. You see, you point your fingers, you pull, you hook on, and you pull to the sides. Now I'm going very fast here because I've taught this step also in the basic massage video course, so it's very simple. Now if I talk a lot, if I'm very talkative, it's because I try to be as detailed as possible, but all you need to do is just follow my instructions. So you skip another vertebrae and you move upwards, you pull, you skip another vertebrae, you point your fingers, you pull, you hook on, and then I move to the sides. 2 or 3 times. Then you will see that I'm going to move up another vertebrae. So I will start, this is the 3rd. I remember that I drew 6 vertebrae because this 7th was impossible to draw because it is under the or above the hairline. You see the 6th cervical vertebrae here, and I do these apertures. This is good for giving movement to the neck. Now, once you've completed this treatment, and with the next steps that I'm going to show you, don't ask the person to lie down, to wait before they stand up, because they may be a little dizzy. Now, swinging of the neck. This is a beautiful exercise. Now, you see I'm turning my head slightly, and I'll show you how to hook on with your fingers. So I place my fingers under the occipital bone, which is the bone behind the head. I'm holding the head firmly in my hands, and as the client breathes out, I will pull slowly, gently. If it's painful, then just slow down. So I pull, always while the customer is breathing out. You can do this 3-4 times, even some extra, because it's very beneficial. This will allow the vertebrae to acquire more space between them, so that they're not compressing a disc or a nerve root. Now I'm kneading the neck muscles while the client is lying face up. So the client's head is resting firmly on my right hand, and then slowly I do these pulling movements on the trapezium. It's a mixture between pulling and kneading. So I rest my hand on the shoulder and I push downwards. this is the simpler phase of the massage. I've already explained these in the basic massage. Then I turn the client's head. You see how the ear fits into the palm of my hand. Then I knead gently all the way to the shoulder. And then I will hook on to the shoulder, as I did with the other, by pulling gently downwards. My best investment was this plastic spine. That was money well spent. Now I'm going to show you the intervertebral discs when you're pulling. You see how the vertebrae distance each other, gain distance from each other, and the discs can actually breathe. Think that the damage that you can cause at the vertebrae is when the disc is compressed too much by each vertebrae, because the muscles are contracting the cervical vertebrae too much. So these discs, which are bulging, start pressing on these nerves, which are highlighted in green, in yellow here. So when you do these pulling movements, you allow the intervertebral disc to breathe. Now we're going to do the swinging. So we place our fingers under the occipital bone, and then we pull the head and swing it. In fact, thanks to the swinging movement, the whole body should be swinging all the way to the tips of the feet. The whole body should be swinging. So I'm doing this slowly. So all the steps that I'm going to teach you next, this rule will always apply. If the customer is in pain, don't do it. Move on to something else. Ask them to tolerate the pain a little bit, but if they ask you not to do it, don't do it, because these are areas where people have a hard time letting go. Lateralization movements. Okay, watch carefully how I'm going to place my hands here. So I hook on above the ear, and then I fit it between my index and medium fingers. With the other hand, I hold the head, and then slowly I bend the head all the way to the shoulder. Now be careful not to break down her neck. I'm just kidding, but be careful, because in this case the model has a very flexible neck, so it looks easy here. But if the person is in pain, stop. Don't worry, because there will certainly be some people who will be easier to treat in this case, and others who won't. But again, if a person has a cervical hernia, don't do this. Don't do this. Once you've completed one side, you knead quickly the neck. Then you place your hand on the other ear, and slowly you accompany the head with the ear towards the shoulder. During this phase, you may also hear some cracking sounds. These just air bubbles that are popping. These air bubbles are formed by the body to maintain certain spaces, and when you move, when you actually cause the vertebrae to press with each other, they emit this cracking sound. In fact, nothing is broken. So now we have to do always the lateralization movement, or a side movement. So you see this top view. I'm slowly moving the head. Now don't give it any swats or sharp blows. Only when you're at the end of the movement, you can give it a light blow, but it should never be an abrupt blow. So we're doing the swinging movement again here. So again, this is not a manipulation course. It's a course which, thanks to these massage techniques that I'm going to teach you, which may look like manipulations, but they're not, we are trying to reestablish a balance in the vertebrae, or realign the vertebrae. So you see I'm moving the head down to the shoulder. Now, if I notice that the head can't bend above a certain limit or beyond a certain limit, then I will stop. I pull. It may look odd, but in fact, this is a very pleasant technique. Release movements. Release movements. Okay, this is the centerpiece, one of the centerpieces of the video course, so pay attention. Now, we first need to open the vertebrae forward. So now I'm just checking for mobility. So first we have to turn the head towards the left. So we place our hands under the head and we raise the chin. Be careful, this is very important. Otherwise, really, you may cause damage. And don't say that I taught you this. So, jokes apart, I opened the neck and slowly I will turn it to one side. Again, the neck must be open, so raised chin. So never like this, but like this. I will repeat this throughout the next videos as well. Okay, the head is in the palm of my hand. The chin is raised, and slowly I move downwards. Now, don't use sharp blows. One thing, you can cause damage. The other, if you follow my instructions, you will have excellent results. The person will have no problems, and as a consequence, they will be the ones that will ask you to do it again. So slowly, as you can see, we do these apertures. Even in this phase, the neck may do some cracking sounds. So in this last phase, if you do it dry, it can hurt. Now, I only showed you because that's what you shouldn't do. You need to accompany the neck gently, unless you're particularly sure of yourself because you're an osteopath, a physiotherapist, or physician, or you're qualified to do it, then maybe you already know how to do it. But if you're not, if you're just a massage therapist, then follow my instructions. Now, here I'm showing you how to place the position of the hands. So the head is resting in the palm of my hand. I raise the chin and then slowly I rotate the head. Very slowly. When it reaches the limit, you see it's aligned with the shoulder. You can give it a very light blow, but it's hardly perceivable. It's not a sharp blow. Otherwise, this is going to be a manipulation, which is not the aim of this course. To do that, you really need to study many years. It will not suffice to just watch a video course, and I wouldn't be able to teach you that, and I don't even think it would be correct. So we would have to actually turn to a physician, osteopath, or chiropractor who have studied for many years to be able to realign the vertebrae also with simple manipulations. Here in this picture you can see the spine, and you can see what happens when I do the pulling movement. I turn the head, but as I open the chin or raise the chin, the vertebrae open in the front part. So where the disc, now I'm helping with my hand to facilitate this operation. Now as I raise the chin, the vertebrae in the back actually close in the spinous process, which are those spikes in the back. And the front part, where the discs are located, we increase the mobility, so we get rid of the compression. So here we have another view of the same movement. So you see how I'm positioning my hand on the edge of the occipital bone. The ear is, you shouldn't cover the ear. The other hand accompanies the movement. Perfect. So the head is lying in the palm of my hand. Then I raise the chin. Really be careful. This is very important. And I rotate the head slowly. pull. I also pull a little bit, and I rotate. Now, this is for releasing all the cervical vertebrae. Now, you noticed how slight was my small blow, the light blow that I gave her to raise the chin. You can rewind if you haven't seen it. Now, I have to turn the head the other way now. So I raise the chin, I pull a little bit, and I rotate. Perfect. Okay, are you following me? Now, don't be afraid if you hear those cracking sounds. The rule always applies. If it hurts, don't do it. Cervical stretching. Stretching of the cervical vertebrae. Now, I really love this, to do it, to receive it, and to teach it. Now, I raise the head of the client's head, and then I place my hand on one shoulder, on the opposite shoulder. Now, don't mind my black index fingers, because when I massage the vertebrae, the color smeared, so I still have my hand smeared in black magic marker. So here I am pulling the head forward. I'll show you a clearer image than this soon. But when the client breathes out, I pull up, my arms are crossed, and I follow the client's breathing. So when they're breathing out, I pull all the cervical vertebrae. This is good for the vertebrae and also for the neck muscles. I'll show it to you again. I place my hand on one shoulder and on the other shoulder. And as the client breathes out, with my arms crossed, I pull the cervical vertebrae. Try to feel the client's limit in doing this, so that if it hurts, you'll stop a little bit before that. But to be honest with you, this is not usually a very pleasant exercise. Slowly, you rest the head down. This is another view. So you see, my right hand is on the left shoulder and vice versa. My arms are crossed. And as they breathe out, now, small detail, ask them to breathe with their nose, both when they're breathing in and when they're breathing out. So breathing out, the air is going out through the nose. Because if they were to open their mouth or breathe through their mouth, well, that would be more difficult. So it's better if they breathe through their nose. So now we can pull the neck slightly. Do some swinging movement, which never hurts. Okay? And I have concluded.